вот должен быть.
Здравствуйте. Hello everyone. My name is Ivan Kalinin. I'm PhD in philology from our St. Petersburg State University. And for me, it's the first time where I reach such a strange and interesting topic. So, actual level of my English, it's not so good. I practice a lot. I listen to a lot of audiobooks in English. I know how to speak about my topic in English, but in common, the level you will see. So, sorry for professionals, philologists, and so on. But now we can speak about the topic. Not only my actual job, not only my lifestyle, but the thing I devoted about half of my life. So I explain the topic. I will show you the way I live in. So the topic I translated using the automatic systems. How does knowing family history affect your lifestyle? So it will be popular. And next variant of our topic, how to find ancestors and how this topic, the topic of genealogy, is presented in the information agenda. So much more connection to your professional style, so journalism, media, and so on. Is anyone who heard something about genealogy, family history, DNA testing, archives, and so on? So the topic is actually very popular. And maybe I will say you something new for you. Maybe you will see something you just heard about. Who knows? My presentation is made in Russian, but we will translate it, and if I can't express this, I will go to Russian, return to English, no problem. So, the development of this topic. For everybody, how you can research your genealogy, how you can find your real genealogy. Not genealogy of someone else's, not genealogy of Napoleon or Peter the Great or Elizabeth II, who deceased many times ago. Yourself. First one you must do, you must go to your more elder ancestors, your parents or your grandparents if you have some, uncle of your mother, uncle of your father, second cousin, third cousin, and so on. The first source of genealogical information is your relatives, your closest relatives. Second one, you must to build communications and even relationships with new ones who you or even your parents even didn't know. For example, you have some blocknote, you have some small notebook with some telephone numbers, you have some mail envelopes. So you will do this, you will find them using media systems, social networks. You will ask them for photo, for pictures, for some kind of information to extend your family and to make your genealogy deeper and deeper. So it's a little bit tricky to do so. Next time, after you did all these things, such as interviewing your closest relatives and distant relatives, you must go to archive. It is much easier than you could think. So, for example, you write to, if you're, from which regions are your ancestors? Do you know from which regions your grandmothers, grandfathers, everybody knows, yeah? Because if you don't know, ask them. Because the time is not our friend in genealogical research. Time is coming. So you must ask them as much as possible. And after you you must understand new geography. You must understand ancient Russian geography. Governments, yes, all departments, and Volost, yes, and gubernia. So there are three levels of geographical definition. Then you integrate in local historical community of this region. For example, my ancestors are from many regions. Because I was born in St. Petersburg, my parents from St. Petersburg, both my grandparents, my great-grandfathers, some of them are also from St. Petersburg. It means that my ancestors are from a lot of regions, such as Tver Oblast, Pskov Oblast, Smolensk Oblast. I have some also German ancestors, Jewish ancestors, French ancestors, Polish, Belarusian, Ukrainian, and so on. So we must to understand local history of the place from where came your ancestors, and to make communication with the historical community. And then there are other types of researching. For example, you can come to this place, you can visit your relatives, because not all your grandmothers, grandfathers, and their cousins can use WhatsApp, email, even mobile phone, not everyone can use. So maybe it's a good idea to go there and to see someone who is not presented in internet. And the last thing I researched about 3-4 years ago was genetical genealogy. Genetical genealogy. It's completely new science somehow. It's mixture between biology and history. Yes. So it's called genealogical interview, because I'm not only interested in genealogy, I work in genealogy. I'm a specialist of Institute of Genealogy and Galaxy. So it's not only my interest, it's my job. So I make interview not only for my relatives, but relatives of my clients. So, for example, there are 3 types of interview. First interview with your grandparents, second interview with a person who knows your grandparents exist. And there are interview with a person who gave you in contact of a person who is now, it's a chain process. What are the limits of genealogical interview? On the picture you can see myself, my mother, and the second cousin of my grandmother and her husband. It's a Bryansk television, 2016. So, and on one side you can see genealogical tree of Afanasyev family. It's impossible to see anyone. Yeah? So the people are so small because the tree is one of the biggest trees in the world. Guinness record book can also include this tree. So most of these trees made only by genealogical interview. I found a lot of records made by my great-great ancestors, great-grandparents, who wrote about all their relatives. So it's incredible. But these three, it's not actually deep. All these ancestors are modern people. But if we go upper to see great-great-grandparents, it's only 134 and not deeper. Because Bryansk achieves suffered from Second World War. So, from your relatives you also can catch pictures of your ancestors, because there are almost no pictures of people in archives. There is only written information, not graphical information. So, this is one of list of I made training of my my noble line, because my mother's grandfather was from Russian St. Petersburg noble family, Shumilin. So, of course, noble people, if they survived several parts of persecution of rich and noble people in our history, if they could save some part of their photo archives, you can see them, they are very, very beautiful. So, this is a kind of explanation, what does it mean, direct ancestors. You, your brother or sister, someone, your father and mother, and if we go deeper and deeper, you will receive more and more quantity of ancestors. Almost numerous, uncountable quantity of ancestors. So this is one of my genealogical travels. I came to the city of Morloga, from where came my direct father line ancestors. They were merchants from Morloga. Anybody knows this city? Almost nobody, because this city does not exist. But the city was one of the biggest city of Yaroslavl, or gubernia, or government, or present Yaroslavskaya Oblast. So now it is a Rybinsk lake, deposit of water. So all the city with all buildings was destroyed, and after this level of water went up and up. So I participated also in television in some kind of this man is chief of local museum in Rybinsk, so we organized all of this. And the second part, the last part of genealogy, I will precisely explain to all of you. It is genetical genealogy. So this is a symbol of organization where I work actually. This is also some explanation. So anybody of you made DNA test, ancestral DNA test? So as you can see, this kind of service is not very popular in our country. What does it mean? It means if some of you makes DNA test, you will not find exactly real relatives. But you can find distant relatives, because DNA testing, autosomal DNA test, shows to you relatives from 18th century. How many relatives you have from 18th century? If you have a lot of ancestors, they all had issue. So what does it mean? You have about thousands and thousands of distant relatives. So this service shows it to you. And sometimes we have a lot to find really close ones. So what does it mean? It means that you can write them and take small headache and to find common ancestors. Also explanation, some pictures. So what gives to you a DNA test? You can see 5 or 7 generations deeper. So if anybody of you wants to do genetical autosomal DNA test, not make it for you, please. Don't do this. Do this for your grandmothers and grandfathers. For you, you will have time, much more than they. So save this for your children or grandchildren in future. Save this information from your grandmothers and grandfathers. For example, my great-grandfather on father line was Jewish. He was Isaac Abramovich Tarnogradsk. Unfortunately, he died because of some political situation in our country, 1937. I didn't know this information, but he was 100% Jewish, and his wife was
grandmother is, you can count, 62% Jewish. My father is 32% Jewish. Myself, 15% Jewish, because no other Jewish ancestors. I don't have other. So if I do this test, I receive only 15% of this unusual genetical group in our country. So if my father do this, he will receive 35%, 32%, or 28%, depends of company. So if I had somehow, but my grandmother died now, so if I had possibility to do her DNA test, I will receive 62% and much more closest relatives to this line. So do this for your grandmothers and grandfathers or their brothers and sisters.
Siblings, do this, not do for yourself. It's much better information. You will do just after you did all these DNA tests.
Yeah, so only DNA test can define existence in your DNA some different several national groups. Jewish, Roma, Germans, Caucasian people, and so on.
So, this is why people order such kind of tests. Curiosity, hypothesis, and they must know exactly. So, some of people don't publish their genealogy, and if you do the DNA test, you can see them in a base, in genetical database. And there is no other possibility to find them, only from DNA tests. And most of them are cultural, intellectual, and very communicative sort of people. Only DNA tests can define your Y DNA, because man has Y DNA and one X chromosome. Women has two X chromosomes, but no Y chromosomes. So if you are a man or if you're a woman with a brother who has Y chromosome, you can do Y DNA test. And you can see migration of your ancestors from thousands and thousands of years. So it's some kind of interesting, you know, where was your ancestors 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and 20,000 years ago. It's interesting. So why DNA defines haplogroup? For example, this research I made for myself. Actually, my great-grandmother, Olga, is the second great-grandmother. She was born about 1876, something like that. But she had no Y DNA. But how can I find her father's Y DNA? How can I find from where very old Rudin's family from Toropets, Tver government, which type of Y DNA had Rudin family? How can I find? Because she was woman, and downside she didn't give, she not gave to me and my mother any Y DNA. But I found, using internet, some researchers achieved, I found that her father had brother, and they came to Latvia after revolution. So I found their history in Latvia, and I found their descendants. Some of them lives in United States, some of them lives actually in Latvia, some immigrate in Great Britain, depends of destiny. But, you know, all these faces are men. What does it mean, men, in this kind of research? They all had the same Y DNA. Y DNA is the same in one surname, Rudin. They are all Rudin. So, I found one person, he did DNA test, and this test confirmed relationship to my mother, autosomally, and all genes, not Y gene. And after I found that all this is correct. No adultery, you know what does it mean? No any wife came to other men and как будет у нас незаконные unlegal issue. Illegal issue. So не было я.
Not issue. Illegal affair. You mean romantic
Потомство.
affair. Потомство descendants.
Descendants. So мы проверили, что не было ни одного незаконного потомка. Потому что совпадение было между нашей ветвью и вот этим человеком. So I decided to make very expensive Y-DNA test. And I found this haplogroup, it's type of R haplogroup. So I found where on the map are presented the people with the same haplogroup, and so on and so on. So I also received a lot of pictures, a lot of communications, a lot of friends. What does it mean? Combination between genetical genealogy, interview, achieves. You will receive your history and your actual relatives. This is the same thing with my ancestors on Mitnik line. So I'm going from him, from his daughter. She's not presented. She had no Y-DNA, but her father's brother and her uncle. So I had a man. But you know, all these people, him and this man, are dead now. One because of COVID, second one because of several illnesses. So if I decided to do the same research now, I had no any people with this Y-DNA. So this is explanation why we must do it as soon as possible, if you're interested in it. So I must say, I must обратиться, хотел бы обратиться ко всем девушкам, которые здесь, because you know this Y-DNA only man has some special chromosome. It's a little bit, it's looking like sexism, no? So there is a haplogroup which only women can give to their descendants. It's named MT or mitochondrial DNA. So there are also several haplogroups of women. Men also has this haplogroup, but not give to their descendants. So this is my father. This is his sister, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, second great-grandmother, and third great-grandmother. So this is my father's direct feminine line. So I made a DNA test of my father because he has from his mother this haplogroup. This haplogroup is I1A1A1. So I made research because this woman maybe lives around Voronezh. But I found that most of owners of this haplogroup lives in Finland. So I found maybe this is something from Finnish people or from Moldovan people or from people with a Finnish ancestry. So this tool, genetical genealogy, this tool is only good with other tools. This is what I said to you. There are three types of DNA tests: autosomal, Y-DNA, and mitochondrial DNA. This is not all, but this is all that's included in my presentation.
So, any questions?
If there are any questions, please.
Yeah, may I? Well, during the first part of your presentation, I had a question about the interviewing. That if we have three types of DNA tests, is it enough useful to use interviewing instead of doing test?
So I will answer your question. How many time we have now? About I will answer.
We'll see.
You will see. I will answer to your question. Well, 15 minutes. So, one second. For example, okay, I will answer shortly. So, for example, my grandmother was born in 1936. I lived with her all my childhood. Unfortunately, my father is a little bit ill, my mother was very busy, so I lived with my granny. Her name is Susanna Nikolaevna Nefetkina, she was born. So, she tried to communicate with her father. She believed that she has father in Moscow, and when she was much younger, she came to him, but he didn't open the door, because he lived with other women, he made other family. So her mother said to her that he is her father. But after I made 3 DNA tests, his other daughter and his nephew, compared with my mother, absolutely zero relationship. So, without DNA test, how can I believe an interview of my grandmother if she herself couldn't even know this, because her mother. So, sometimes we must not believe exactly, but 95% all interviews are correct. And only 5% they are incorrect. But if we make really scientific research, we must use all those tools. Other questions?
Is it possible to have this interview online? For example, my relatives are abroad, and I want to know.
Of course, you can do all this interview by WhatsApp. You can do all conversation in internet. Even me, I don't travel a lot, and I have about hundreds and thousands of relatives abroad. So only once.
And how can we start doing it? I really don't understand how.
Do you have a question here? Do you have a
How can
question
I
here?
start this?
You must ask them what they are names, father names, surnames of your mother, of your father, date of birth, place of job, because some people had jobs, and there are documents in the archives devoted to this job. Place of birth means there is a church of birth, a church where church records were made. So you must ask as precisely as you can from where your ancestors, what type of your ancestors. Only thing is listed in my presentation, but I can't find this. I want to show you my direct ancestors genealogy tree. This all. Минутку, подождите, пожалуйста.
And there is one more question.
There are also questions.
Yeah, we have like a broad question now. Because actually we didn't understand how does test work. We mean when you get your DNA test and you got what names or just places where they live, or how do you get people who didn't make DNA test? How you get them?
I can
Or
show.
how your
I will show
foreign
you
ancestors.
after this from my laptop. You will see names, even some pictures, and emails. You can write them on email. You will see how much DNA is between you and them. You will see 25 centimorgans, 100 centimorgans. This means genetical distance between you and them.
Okay, maybe there is I don't know, people who just go through graveyards and take people's DNAs. We don't get this thing. you got names of your far ancestors, but they could not.
Of course, they are all dead, and even there is no DNA of them. But you make DNA test of your grandmother, for example. You will see her genetical profile. How many, from where her ancestors? Some regions, Russia, Europe, something like this.
And you will see the list of her real relatives who are living now from many countries who also make DNA tests. Between your grandmother and them, there is the genetical distance. There are some common ancestors. And from those ancestors, she and her aunt cousine took the same amount of DNA. So you will see, for example, Sarah Peterson, 100 centimorgans DNA. It means she about third or fourth cousin or second cousin of your grandmother. So you can write to she, and you will take conversation with she, and then with her. And then you will maybe, who knows, understand your common ancestry. If you made a cheap research, if she made the same research, you will somehow understand and confirm that all your ancestors and her ancestors biologically correct. No some hesitation, because biology is a science. You will see how many DNA in common between your grandmother and the woman which you didn't know.
Got it, thank you.
Okay.
I also got a question. I'm sorry if it's a bit stupid, but the question is why knowing your genealogy is so important for you. It helps you to understand who are you and what people from what regions you consist of, but how it affects your life.
My life or your life?
Your life.
My life. For me, maybe I am in a situation where my parents divorced.
My mother's parents also divorced. I'm also child of my both parents, so I have not many relatives. Very bad communication between them. Nobody explained me which professions, job, pictures had my relatives and ancestors. And I studied. I have two high educations, economics and journalism. So I had a lot of exams. I researched a lot of books on history, philosophy, literature. But I didn't know what did especially my ancestors during Napoleonic War, during First World War, even during Second World War. So I only researched the dates without feeling how it's devoted to me. So for me, the first interest is about myself. Who am I? Who were my ancestors?
And now I found that history was almost completely wrong, and both my grandmothers had not the same father that they said to me. So it's interesting. It's like journalism, You do journalism, you research present. I do even harder work. I research past. It's like Scotland Yard or something like this.
I will show you how deep your genealogical tree.
One second. How deep your genealogical tree can be if you will research it during 9 years. So this is my direct ancestors line. If we go deeper and deeper, you will see me. This is Ivan. It's me. Yes? You all has two. Oh, sorry. This was my client's DNA tree. So, what does it mean? Each color. I have my second great grandparent. For example, Alexei Pavlovich Kuznetsov. So, his direct ancestors has one color. His wife has other direct ancestors, other colors. So those colors mean how deep I know colors.
Families,
Yes.
Эти цвета обозначают, как глубоко каждого прапрадеда предков я знаю. And the pictures means that I found how they look like. So, for example, in some relatives I have even 18th century pictures or 19th century pictures. And for some relatives, for example, my grandmother's father, unfortunately I didn't found them. I only found that her actual father was not the father. But now I'm researching DNA and I found unknown person without name. Maybe, it is exactly close relatives of him. So I can investigate situation even from 1936. So what does it mean, DNA genealogy? But only with DNA genealogy you will not take such tree, because you will only see DNA without comparison, without other people made this test. Because I asked all my relatives who I know make the same test.
So I have about 50 to 60 DNA tests from people I know they are my relatives. I know them and I ask them to see. And only 2 people unfortunately became показали нулевое родство. Because you can, unfortunately you can see there are some zero relatives, but we are very good friends. You know, if you have no DNA, it doesn't mean you are not friends. So if you can see to this line, 17th century. Okay. Okay. So.
Okay, guys. Any other questions, comments?
Oh, please.
Can you show us your farthest ancestors?
Yes.
It looks like you have your ancestors till the Jesus Christ.
Yes. So you know I have Jewish ancestors, so I'm from King David. You know. Oh. Yes. But of course,
Almost right.
if you go deeper and deeper,
Your ancestors become more legendary and more legendary. Because only from Peter the Great or 17th century there are a lot of records. Before this is only records made by monarchs, and there are very few and ready. Yeah. So one of my ancestors, Count Vorontsov, he's confirmed ancestor, but he said that he has relatives from African, one of the friends of Rurikid from Kiev and Rus. But some genealogists in 18th and 19th century said that it was wrong. So maybe I'm descendant of these people, but there is another branch. But I just maybe to explain how deep can be genealogy. But most of you, even all of you, can find your ancestors from late 17th century and 18th century. All of you can know from several lines where lived your ancestors in those centuries.
How much does it take to make all this?
There is one small secret. I do it somehow every day. So since 2013 till now. So it's a little bit craziness, you know. It's a small craziness for me. But I started to work in this topic. So I receive money also for this, for my experience. So it's not as bad as it could be.
So it's impossible for us to build such a genealogical tree. So big and so far.
Depends of how many time and how big money you have. So you can buy the same for, 10 million rubles or 15 million rubles.
Everyone has such one.
Because it's a rather expensive service. Or you can buy it for 9 years of your life. It depends on you. But you can only find 1, 2, 3 surnames, your grandmother, your grandfather. Do only this. It's not a competition between genealogical trees of everyone of us. So it's only depends on how big you want to your family tree work.
And maybe I'm sorry for so many questions, but still, I think we make like a good thing if we just make a DNA test for our future relatives, like to make for them, make it easier for them to find their ancestors when we will be their ancestors.
Of course, as much the amount of DNA tests, the easier it will be. So there is a company in Moscow, Genotech. There are some companies in other countries. So you can do it in one company and download the file of your DNA test and publish in other companies. So you will see several bases of other people. The chance will grow for you to find somebody.
And I have maybe the last question.
Maybe.
Last time I saw you, you thought what I have to do in my future. You didn't know, or what are you going to do? And is this thing is your devotion, or is there anything else you want to do in the future?
In my life, I do several things in one time. It's my problem. I also research literature. I'm a tutor in St. Petersburg State University, Faculty of Journalism. I made a PhD dissertation on travel journalism, and I like travel journalism, like ecological journalism. I like to read books. I like psychology. I research also some parts of psychology, such as psychology of destructive cults. There are some groups of people, cults. I'm very excited. Somehow to find possibility to speak with a grandmother or her cousin with who they broke their relationship 20 years ago. So it's a question. You try to understand psychology of other people. You have your project. You must find your relatives, find photo. But
during this, you also teach yourself to communicate with others people. Может быть, даже с людьми, с которыми вы никогда в жизни не подумали бы на улице пообщаться, вам придется и с ними познакомиться, найти к ним подход. Мне кажется, это тоже интересно. Thank you.
Thank you.